Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session for today. And today is the 30th of August 2024. This session of learning how to read English is a session where we are going to be reading a story. And this is episode 2 on that story. So we are continuing that story, seeing that we have started that story earlier today. And I do hope that you guys have been practicing the words that we did on that story. It is always a pleasure to be able to reinforce the story or to go through the story again with you. However, it is really great when you can take that opportunity to go over that content on your own. It will definitely help you to master content. And that's one thing that I really wish for every English learner to be able to master whatever content it is that they are engaging in on a everyday basis. So thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure having you here. If you're here for the first time, please let us know by saying hello. If you're here for the first time, please let us know by saying hello. And you can go to our comment section to say hello. We appreciate you being here. And so we look forward to see you in our comments section today. Don't forget to join us in the comment section. Let us know where you're from and how you're doing today. Also, let us know if it is your first time here on the channel, because of course we know that sometimes we have some ghost watchers or some persons who would watch but may never comment. And so we are grateful for you too. If you are that silent ghost watcher, we appreciate you being here. And so we are going to be reading in English today, and a part of our English learning routine is for us to really learn how to read short stories when we are learning how to read English. And this is great practice for you. So, if you have not been doing practices on short stories, it would be nice for you to really get into it where you read short English stories because you can learn a lot from reading stories. It helps you to learn about the culture of English speakers, and with this, you are able to learn how to use the language in a fluent manner, not only a fluent manner, but also in the correct context or the correct circumstances. Because there are things that you can say in English and they may not be relevant to a native English speaking country because that's not the way that they would say it in their own jargons or in their own slangs, or maybe in their own proverbs and stuff like that, or idioms. They may not say it the same way that you're saying it. So please be very careful with this and practice to read stories so that you can really build your comprehension skills, your vocabulary skills. And in that way, you can improve your English to a stage where you are able to read fluently, and not only fluently, but you are also able to understand whatever it is that is being read by text. Also, it will help you a lot with listening skills because as you read, you can listen to yourself. And while you listen to yourself, you would also build a lot of skills to understand how native speakers would speak when they are speaking English, and to understand the difference between learners of English and native speakers. It helps you to be able to pick up on the differences, and this can really help your English. All right, so we are going to begin our part two of the story. So, this earlier we did the part of the story where so I would end the screen and I would go back to the part of the story that we have already completed, and that would be in a way to refresh you as to what we have done prior to now. That way, you'll be able to make meaning of the story. So, we are going to just read through this part to be able to continue the story. Let's begin our reading. And before we begin reading, we are going to highlight some words that we really zoom in on today, earlier in our previous session. And this is because we want you to understand the vocabulary for these words so you can understand how to use these words and also the correct pronunciations for the words. Okay, so please bear that in mind. And as you bear that in mind, we want you to know that practice is very important. All right. And with practice, you should be improving. All right. So let's begin. Now we are going to just look at the words that we zoom in on because I know that you guys may not have the chance to go back to that live. So let's look at the words chummy, chummy. And chummy is a word that means that you are friendly or you are close, or we can use another word like familiar. When you are friendly, very friendly with someone, you are close to someone or very familiar, then you would say that you and that person are chummy. Don't forget, guys, to give the live a thumbs up and get active in the comment section. We welcome that here. Our next word that we looked at was the word friends, friends. And one of the things that we said that friends, the I in friends, it's silent. So we hear the F and R make the sound fur. Then we see the small word ends, friends. And your friends, of course, would be people that you're very familiar with. They would be like your pals. All right. Another word you can use for friends would be the word pal. We said this name, Lisa, it is sometimes pronounced as Lisa. And the reason why is because the IS here is treated as is whenever it's pronounced as Lisa. However, in English, the major pronunciation or the main pronunciation that you would hear is Lisa. Lisa. All right. Our next word, lived. Lived. The ED, we said make the sound like D. The I makes the short sound, so we hear A. Remember, when E is at the end silent in a lot of English words, the vowel that comes before it can make the short sound or the long sound. In many words, it would make the short sound. However, in the word live, we hear the short sound A. The word live means when you permanently stay somewhere, when you dwell at a specific place, you would say that you live there. Or when you take up residence at a place, you would say that you live there. Our next word is different. Different. One of the key things we said about different is that in different, the E here is silent. So we hear D if because the two F makes the same sound, then you would only make one sound for them. So we hear D, if, diff, and then we hear rent, rent. So our word there is different, different, different. Different means when something is not the same or when something is odd. So if I say to you that I have a different pencil. It means that my pencil, it is not the same, or that my pencil, it is not identical to yours, or I can use other words like I can say it mismatch yours, or I can just simply say it's unlike yours or not the same. All right, we're doing well so far. How do you guys feel? Please go ahead in the comments and let me know how you feel about what we have done so far. Our next word is the word world, world, world. In the British English pronunciation, you would hear world. In the American pronunciation, you'll hear world. The Americans, they would exempt or they would omit or delete the d or t sound at the ends of words. So, world, American, world, British English. And the world is actually in the environment that we live in. The world is consists of planets. It is actually the Earth consists of planets, the universe, and anything that is in existence. You would say that it is the world, as in the world make up all those things. Our next word that we took a look at this in our previous session was the word earth, north. And the word north, it actually means that position that points to the North Pole. That position that points to the North Pole. So wherever you're standing and that position points to the North Pole on a compass, then you would classify that as north. North. Our next word is American, American, American. And who is an American? An American is actually someone who is from America, as in the United States of America. You would call that person an American, all right? Because even if you are from the continent of North America, persons would not refer to you as an American. So that's something that we should keep in mind. Another thing is that if you are from the South American continent, persons may not refer to you as American. Okay? So they would not refer to you as American in those instances. So an American would really be someone who is from United States of America. All right. Our next word is continent. 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 And in continent, what we did, we broke that up into three syllables. We hear continent and ent. Continent. What is a continent? A continent is actually a territory or those landmass that expands. You would call them continents because they are big landmass that has different countries fitted into them. And so you would call them continents. And there are different continents. We have Africa, we have uh, North America, South America, we have Asia, we have Europe. All these are continents. I think to date, the world has 7 continents. I'm subject to correction. Our next one, because I know that things change very rapidly. Just recently, Pluto was a planet. Now it's not a planet. So because of that, I am subject to correction. Our next word, sorry, the E in this one says E, and then we hear sides. So our word here is resides. What does it mean when we say that you reside in a place? It simply means that you live there, that you're a resident there, that you stay there permanently. or that you dwell there. You would say that you reside there. Our next word is the word colossal, 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 colossal. And colossal, it actually means something that is big or something that is grand or large. You would refer to it as colossal. Our next word that we took a look at is the word city, city. And we said when C comes before I, E, or Y, we hear a song like S, and the Y at the end makes the sound E. So whenever you're spelling the word, be careful to remember that it's a C instead of an S and it's a Y instead of an E. So we hear city. The city is actually a tongue. It means the same as tongue, this word. So we can cover this word at the same time. Town. A city is also a town, or it is an urban area, or we can say an area where business and commercial activities would take place. We can also call a city the urban space or a very big town, the capital. We can also say that the city is the capital. The next word we would go through is this word. The end silent. In this one, this time we hear I for the vowel, and we hear the U make the long song. So we hear you. So we say unite, and the ed sound in this word is id. So we hear united, united. Then we have the word st and it, so state. And then we add the s, we have the word states. What does it mean to be united? To be united simply means that you act with togetherness as one, that you join together when you are united. And states would mean that they are actually, let's try to put this in a way that you would understand it. Uh, it's actually where you have different territories. And these territories, they come together, or these different land masses, they would have their own political communities. However, they would all act under one government, right? So, in that way, we would call it a state. Are you familiar with any state in the United States of America? Well, can you give us a name of a state in the chat? We would love to see that you know a name of a state. So, an example of a name of a state in the US would be what state? Come on, guys. You don't know any state in the US? I am not seeing any comments from anyone. All right, guys. So I can give you some. For example, California is a state, Texas is a state, Florida is also a state in the US. If you are to visit the US, which state would you want to visit? And the US actually has 50 states. So you have others like Georgia, uh, Alabama, you have Arizona, you also have Michigan, uh, Kentucky. How can I miss Kentucky? Indiana, and lots of others. They all add up to 50 states. All right, guys. So get active in the comment section, guys. We want to see and hear from you. I know America is a dream country for many people, and hence the reason why I ask if you know any state there. Our next word is the word on, born. And when something is born, it means that that thing comes into existence by birth. All right. So when someone is born, it means that they come into existence by birth. So, for example, a baby. When a baby is born, we would always be happy to see that baby when the baby is born. So that means the baby came into existence by birth. Our next word is the word r. A and I together, a. The S here makes a sound like z. So we say r is. We add the ed. We give the ed the d sound. So we hear raised, raised. When something is raised, it simply means that that thing is lifted up or that thing gains a higher level or position. So, for example, your pay can be raised. And I'm sure that you would have asked your boss for a raise of pay before, or you may have had situations where your boss freely gave a raise of pay based on your work and your effort. And I'm thinking that you were really happy to have that. So if you then worked for $50 per day, your boss maybe took it to $55 and up. And I'm sure that you were happy. Our next word is A. We hear the SI make this song like Z and H. There is this J pronunciation in English that we hear in some words, not many words, but we hear it in some words. And then we hear ah. So we would say a j ah Asia, Asia. There are persons who pronounce this word as Asia, and that's where they use the S8 sound. Guys, because it's a name, persons would tend to mispronounce it. However, the pronunciation is Asia, Asia. So if you have been speaking all the time and you have been saying Asia, now is a good time for you to start changing that. And let's say you say Asia instead of Asia. All right, let's keep going. Our next word, live. The in silent, we hear the I say I. And remember, it's the silent I making the A sound and not A. Also in Asia, remember it is the SI making the J sound and not S and not ZH. All right? Be very careful. Our next word and our final word is the word Japan. Japan. And Japan is a country. So we hear J, A, then we see P and an, or we can put this as the small word pan, Japan. Japan. And guys, we should keep praying for Japan as I've seen some news lately that Japan they experience what do they call it again? A typhoon, I think it is. Yes, a typhoon. I cannot. I think their typhoon's name is Shanshan. Well, that's how I would say it in English. Shanshan, right? And they had lots of rains and strong winds and so on. For those of us who do not live where typhoons are, we can actually associate this with hurricanes because it is the same pattern that they would basically take. To me, it's just a difference in the name, right? But we should definitely keep them in prayers because going through situations like that can be very difficult. So let's keep Japan in prayers. And if anybody's here from Japan, we do express our heartfelt sadness with you as you go through this difficult period, battling with the typhoon Shanshan. And we hope that you and your family would keep safe and that, everything would be well for Japan again soon. So, guys, keep Japan in your prayers because they are currently going through an episode of sadness there or destruction with their typhoon Shan Shan. That's the name of it, Shan Shan. All right. And those of you who do not live in places like Japan or Asia, where you can have first-hand experience of a typhoon, it's something that you might be able to relate to because it is similar to a hurricane. All right. Uh, and if you have never studied what hurricanes are, we have done multiple lessons here about hurricanes. So definitely we would love you to check those out, those previous videos on hurricanes. All right, let's read through this now. And this is for you to just build context of what we did while you were not here, what we did, so that you can build the context for what we are going to be studying now in our session. All right, so let's begin. Many moons ago, there were two chummy friends, Lisa and Z, who lived in different parts of the world, or world, American world, the British English world. Lisa was from the North American continent where she resides in a colossal city of the United States, while Z was born and raised in Asia, where he lived in a small town in Japan. Guys, I made a few mistakes and I want you to highlight those mistakes. Go ahead in the comments and highlight the mistakes that I made. I made a few mistakes and I want you to highlight those mistakes. Remember, when you read it, you can insert things that are not there. You can say words incorrectly, like your pronunciation, and you can also do other things like omit words that are there. So I made a few mistakes, and let's see if you can pick those mistakes up. Uh, you can go ahead and tell us what the mistakes are. So one of the mistakes I made was instead of us saying the word the United States, I said the United States. They should be D. Whenever this word comes before a word that begins with a vowel, we should hear the D pronunciation from it. If it comes before a word begins with a consonant, then we should hear the. All right, so that's mistake number one. Mistake number two, I said coloss. So I pronounced loss here rather than lo, sol. Remember, the O here takes the sound of O, not O. All right. So even if you're familiar with the word loss, it's not saying loss there. It's actually saying O. So L O, los. So the word is colossal, colossal. All right, let's now read it one more time for fluency and for understanding. Remember, we are practicing how to read in English and we are also ensuring that we have the correct English pronunciations for our words, whether it is British or American English, so that in the future we'll be able to really manage our English reading to a level that sounds very fluent or natural. All right, so let's go ahead and practice one more time. Many moons ago, there were two chummy friends, Lisa and Z, who lived in different parts of the world, British English, American English world. Lisa was from the North American continent where she resides in a colossal city of the United States, while Z was born and raised in Asia, where he lived in a small town in Japan, and this should be lived. All right, so we should add a D for it to be past tense. All right, guys. So let's hear from you guys. And this morning we answer some questions on this story. And sorry, guys, this should be live. It should be the same as live. Sorry. I don't know why I was saying live. We should be answering some questions. So you can go back to the previous videos that we have done if you wish to answer those questions. All right. So we asked about 8 questions in the previous video, but this is just to help you to gain the context of what we're reading. So once you understand it, then you're able to get what the story is about. So here, this story was a story that was told about 2 friends, and these friends, they were very close friends, Lisa and Z, and they live in 2 very different parts of the world. And one lived in the east and one lived in the west. So think of that. They live in 2 opposite parts of the world because east is opposite to west. So Lisa, who lived in North America, would be in the western part of the world, and Z, who lived in Asia, would be in the eastern part of the world. And so you can tell that they have 2 different lifestyles because of where they are located. And if anybody here is from the eastern side of the world, let's know where you're from exactly. If you're from the western side of the world, then go ahead and tell us where exactly you're from when it comes to the western side of the world. Tell us which country you're from or which country you're presently in. We would love to hear that too. All right, so this helps us to build context. So, in moving forward, we are going to realize that their lives are different. And let's go ahead and let's see how it is. One of the things that I've just told you, where we can spot the difference in their lives, is that in Japan and the rest of the eastern side of the world, whenever they have like this type of weather where a lot of storms, a lot of wind, and these winds go over a certain amount of knots, it would be classified as a typhoon. However, in the western side, whenever this happens, it would be classified as a hurricane. Right? So we see that there's 2 different things there in terms of our weather that we experience, what they're called. So um, just from that example that I gave you, you can spot a difference, right? So we know, therefore, things may be called differently. Despite the language difference, things might just be called differently also. So let's go ahead now and let's see how that works. All right, so now we are going to move on to episode 2, and we are going to be practicing reading short story in English as part of our reading practice to really improve our English reading abilities or skills so that we can master the language, so that we can really read fluently, as this is something that any learner of English will desire. And if you are not desirous of improving your English to that level where you are fluent in reading, writing, speaking, well, maybe you are not so serious about it. So if you are very serious about it, then I would encourage you to just take it to the next level and just continue working at it. Continue practicing, especially because English demands practice. You cannot learn any language, I should say, without practice. But however, English language has so many exceptions to the rules that it demands you to really learn some of the words by heart for you to be able to remember spelling and also remember pronunciation, right? Because there's some words you cannot just look at the word and say, hey, that is it, and call it this way, because of the fact that there are so many variations to the phonics rules or to phonetical rules. So, any way you put it, you would have to be practicing. And my thing is always to encourage you to practice as much as you can because you need to get better with each step. And in getting better, it means that you have to just keep at it. All right, so let's go ahead now and let's look for the words that we may find challenging. Please do not uh, just allow me to find the words that you may find challenging because there are some words I may just skip over or I may pass them because of the fact that I may expect you to know those words and you may not know them, right? Or the pronunciation may be something that you are still having problems with. So if there's a word that I skip over or pass, I would love for you to type it in the comments so that I can really help you to break that word down and to help you to be able to blend it. So let's go ahead and look for words that we can decode now. So here we are going to decode the first word because that word may be a challenging one for you. So we have d. Here we actually hear a short sound like I, and we hear s. So here it's this, and then we hear I, the E at the end, silent. We hear the vowel that comes before make a long sound. So we hear I. Our word here now, when we put it together, we hear d, is, this, and it, despite. So our word is despite. Another way that we can break this word to make it easier for us, we can say spite. We can break this part, S and P together, it, spite. And then we can just say a, this, spite. So in this spite, the song that you're hearing there, um, for the whole part of the word, for the I, you will hear the long I sound. And that is one word that you got to remember that it's the long I sound that you hear in the word. So we have e, and then we have it. The E at the end is silent. When spelling, don't forget that E when you're spelling, or you're going to get the word incorrect. All right. So, what does the word despite mean? So, when you say despite something, it means that whatever it is, it's not being affected, right, by whatever you're talking about. It's not being affected by whatever you are talking about. So, something um, that basically is not being affected by whatever it is that you're talking about. Get active, guys, in the comments. I am so sorry. My microphone went out and nobody told me that my microphone went out. Guys, why didn't you guys tell me that my microphone went out? I didn't even know that my microphone went out. Wow, guys. So I'm now rechecking um for my voice. Okay, so we're gonna see. Guys, please type in the comment section and say to me what was the last word you heard me decoding for you. Go ahead and do that for me, please. Thank you. All right. So it seems as though the last word you guys heard was despite. And guys, I've learned so many words after before despite. I am so sorry. And nobody said, hey, your microphone went out. I am so sorry. My apologies. Guys, I have done all these other words after the word despite. So we said despite means when something without affecting something. That's how we use the word despite. Without something being affected, we would normally say despite. Okay. So despite can be used as a preposition, right? And we said that the word despite, we can also use other words that can be used to mean the same thing, like notwithstanding or in spite of. We can use those words also. Our next word that we just did when my microphone went out was the word diff. The E is silent, and then we hear rent. We can also put ent together if we want to, because ent in English make the sound ent, and it's very popular in a lot of English words. It comes as an ending for words, as in a suffix. So, what does different mean? When something is different, it simply means that this thing is not the same, that this thing is not alike, or it is not similar, and this thing is odd. So we can say that it is different. So, for example, if I put these lines, the one that would be different would be the horizontal one, this one, because this one goes across while the other two goes vertically, or they go down. So the middle one would be the one that we would say it's different. Okay, let's keep going, guys. Our next word is the word world. World. We add s now that we know the word. So we hear world. And then we add the S sound. We hear was. Whenever the S is added at the end of the word, you would drop the D sound. All right. But if you're just saying world, as in you're talking about one, then you would simply use the D sound if you are using British English. But if you're using American English, be careful not to use the D sound, because the American would pronounce up until the L. So the Americans would say wool, but the British would say world. All right. So the pronunciation would be different. However, anytime the S is added, they both would say the same thing. So you would hear worlds, worlds. All right, what is a world? The world is the earth, and it is anything that is in existence on the earth. So the universe, the planets, the animals, humans, the whole environment, that is what is termed as the world. Our next word is k, kal. Then the T here. A lot of the times when T comes before URE in English, we would hear the ch sound for the T. So that's where the T takes on the C8 sound. So we hear ch, and then UR makes the sound and the E at the end is silent. So our word is kal, ch, So our word is culture, culture. Now we are going to add the S sound now that we know the word. So the word is cultures, cultures. All right. We can separate this word by saying ch, like in the word picture. Once you know that ending for words like pictures, capture, all those words, that's the same song that they have and the same spelling. And then you can just say cul and ch, culture. Then you add the S once you can call the word cultures, because the S is simply saying that it's more than one. So cultures, what are cultures? So a culture is actually the way of life of a group of people. So um, culture can actually be like your customs, your social behaviors, and all these things of a society or any group of people. Your beliefs, your art forms, your religion, your music, all these things would be your culture. So, culture would actually be where we describe or we show or we perform or represent our traditions or our way of life or the way of life of a particular people, right? So, all of us, we have our own culture. And our culture would basically be formed based on where we are from, that our culture would be formed. So, if you're from the West, you have a completely different culture than persons from the East. And even when you're from the West, there are different parts in the West where the culture would be similar in some ways or the same in some ways, but in many ways, it may be so different. So, even that you have to be very careful with. Our next word is the word like in the rhyme 10. So we hear N, J. The OY makes the sound OY. So we hear N, and then we can put this together to say J, OY, joy. And joy is a word like when you're happy, that gladness within your heart, you call it joy. So enjoy is our word, and then we add the ED sound. When we add the ED, we would hear the sound D for the ED because we can hear the OI sound at the end. The ED sound would be D. Always remember, once you can hear the ending sound of the root word, then the ED sound would be D. So we hear enjoyed, enjoyed, which means that this thing make you feel happy, it give you fun, it is something that you get a lot of pleasure out of, something that you really take delight in, and so you would say that you enjoy it. All right, it may be something that you're very interested in. So guys, you can get active in the comments. Tell us what is something that you enjoy. For example, I'm a person that I enjoy things like reading. I enjoy um, interacting. That's one of my thing to enjoy. I really enjoy interacting. So go ahead, get active in our comments and tell us. Our next word we have sh, ar, and e should be at the end of this word, right? When it is being used as the root word. So we'll hear sh. The A-R-E would say air. Share, share. However, when ing is added to the word, the E is removed. And so the word becomes share. And then you hear the ing sound, which is a ng, ing. So we put the two together, share, ing, sharing, sharing. And always remember those rules for spelling purposes. Whenever a word ends with E, you're going to add ing. You have to remove that E and add ing. All right. So we hear sharing, sharing. What does it mean to share? Well, to share would mean to divide something into parts, or it would mean that you would have given out of something that you have. So, for example, if you have 5 bananas and you give someone one of your banana, then it means that you shared with the person. All right. So when you give a portion of something, you would say that you share. All right. When you split it, when you divide it, you would say that you share. Even when you go 50 to 50, you would say that you share, or 50-50, you would say you share because it's sharing. 50-50 is a common sharing aspect that people talk about these days, especially in relationships. You would hear people talk about they have a 50-50 relationship, which means they do half half, as in each person take on the burden of half of whatever it is. Uh, yeah, that's a very popular talk these days. Hence the reason I share that one. Are you familiar with it? If you're familiar with it, share it in the comments and let us know if you're familiar with it. Our next words to or the E at the end, sorry, the IE makes the sound E. IE can make the sound E, it can say I, it can say A, and it can say E, which means it can make the short song and the long song for I. It can also make the short song and the long song for E. So be very careful with I and E together. All right. So, for example, I and E can say I in the word tie, but then it can say uh, E in a word like Jackie. You can hear E. All right. So, the pronunciation is different in different words. So, in stories, we hear E. And then the S that comes at the end makes a song like Z. Remember, I told you when S comes before E, or I, a lot of English words, it's going to make the Z sound, which is the Z or Z sound. And sometimes when it comes after them, I or E, it can also make the Z sound, like in the word is, we hear Z. All right, so be mindful of those rules. So we hear st or store, is stories. That's why we say English is something that you have to practice in order to master it, because English is very difficult to understand because it is not constant. It does not allow the rules to be stable across the board. They change ever so often. So our word here is stories. And stories, they are basically tales, or they are where an account is given of something, right? You would say that it is a story. Our next word that we'll take a look at is this word if. The E at the end silent. We hear the S makes a sound. So our word is lives. Remember, we said that when you live somewhere, it simply means that you're there permanently, as in staying permanently. You dwell there, or you resides there. We use the word lives. All right. So all those words would mean the same as live. Let's go ahead now and let's read through this sentence. Despite, we're going to call the words different worlds, cultures, enjoyed, sharing, stories, lives. Let's now go ahead and read through this. Despite they were from two different worlds or cultures, they enjoyed sharing stories about their lives. All right, so this word should not be here because we cannot say they enjoyed to sharing stories about their lives. If we were using the word to, then this is how we would say it. They, en- they enjoyed, and we cannot say it that way either. We can say they enjoyed times when they shared stories about their lives. We can also say it that way too. But the to is actually a no no here. We cannot use it in any way or any fashion here. So let's read it again one more time. And if you were able to read just a while ago and read it fluently, then you did an awesome job. Just keep on practicing. So let's go ahead and let's read it one more time. Despite they were from two different worlds or cultures, they enjoyed sharing stories about their lives. All right. Do you share stories about your lives with other persons from another culture? If so, let me know. Sorry, guys. So, here, remember, our story here is about two persons that are from two different cultures. We have one that is from Japan, that is the eastern side of the world. And we also have one that is from the western side of the world, as that person lives in the United States of America. So here, these two sides of the world, they are actually opposite. If we look at our compass, we're going to see that here we have north, we have south, we have east, and we have west. So over here would be America, and over here would be Asia or Japan. All right. So here they are opposite. Okay. And when you have persons from opposite sides of the world, think of that. Do you think their stories would be the same? Well, in some instances, they may have things that are the same. But do you think their stories would really be the same? Let me know in the comments, guys. Do you think their stories would be the same? All right. So we are going to read here to see if their stories would be the same. So we have already unpacked the word United States. So that's one that you should remember because we've already unpacked that word. We have also unpacked the word Lisa. We said that's the popular pronunciation for this name. However, in some culture, you can hear it as Lisa because the S can be pronounced as Z, seeing that it comes after an I. Okay, but the most common pronunciation or popular pronunciation is Lisa. Okay, we have already unpacked that. Same, we have unpacked the word Japan, so we don't have any need to go back to the word Japan to decode that word. We have unpacked the word world, so these are words that we already know. So now we're going to look for those that we have not covered. We have also unpacked this word side when we did the word reside. All right. So now we hear I, d, the E at the end is silent. So we hear the I make a long song, I. All right. So the word is side. And we did that word when we did the word reside. Reside means that you now live in a different place and you live in a place that is a permanent place to you. Sorry, not a different place, but a place that is a permanent dwelling for you. You will say that you reside there, a place that you stay permanently, or a place that you live. you would say that you reside there. So reside means the same as you living somewhere. Okay, so we did that part of the word too. So this is how I want you to learn English and really practice reading English by remembering parts that you have covered and see how they can be applied to new words that you see. All right. And this would help you a lot in your English journey where you're able to spell and you're also able to read at a fluent pace. All right. So let's go ahead now and let's decode the other words. So this word we hear p, e. The e makes a long song. So does the o. So we hear p, e. The o is silent. Sorry, not the o making a song. We hear p, e. Remember, when two vowels come together, both can make the song. One can stay silent, and sometimes the first one can make the song, second one stay silent, or the second one stay silent, first one make the song. The rule is not consistent. So we hear p, e, then we hear p and o. Le makes the song o. So we hear p, e, p, and then we hear p, p, and o. People, people. Our word is people. When we use the word people, who does this refer to? Well, I already give it away because I asked who does it refer to. And we know people has to do with who. Okay? We know people that has to do with who. So people is basically when we talk about human beings, or persons, or individuals or mankind, we can refer to them as people, or woman, men, child. We refer to them as people. People. Our next word that we're going to cover is al, val, and the U is making the song, the E silent. Two vowels together, the U make the song, the E silent. So we have al, val, and U, value. Value. When a value is attached to something, what does that mean? What does the word value mean? When you attach a value to something, what does it mean? So when you attach a value to something, it means that you allow that thing to have some sort of worth, right? Or you give that thing some sort of usefulness when you attach a value to it. Or there is some advantage of that thing, there is some benefit of that thing. All right. Our next word is the word p, per. Per by itself is a word in English, and then s and on. So we have on, sun. These two are two separate words. When we put them together, we have person, person, and al, personal, personal. And we know person would be the same as people. And if we understand what people mean, then we would understand what person mean. And when we say something is personal, it means that this thing is actually something that belongs to someone, or it is this thing that can affect a special person because it is personal, which means it is to that person, right? So, for example, we can say something that is personal is something that is private, or something that is personal, it is distinct to you. We can also say that something that is personal is to an individual alone, so to a person alone. Um, that's how we can use the word personal, right? So whatever is personal, it means that that thing will affect the individual. It means that if it's personal for you, that means that that thing would affect you as a person. Okay. Our next word, through, two e's together, e. We have the word through, E and D. So we have freed and freedom, freedom. Our word is freedom, freedom. So at this point, I have my freedom. And what does that mean? It simply means that I have the right to act, or the right to speak, or the right to think. It means I have that power or that entitlement to think, to act, to speak. Isn't it great to have your freedom? Another word we can use to talk about freedom is the word liberty. You would hear this often being used as a replacement for the word freedom, liberty. And liberty simply means you are free, you have that freedom. All right. Our next word is in the E. The E makes a long song. Pen, the small word pen, and D. And then we hear N. The C comes before E, so it makes a song like S. We hear S. So we hear in, D, pen, D, N, S. And the N is silent. So our word is independent. So we can put all this together, pend. So we have independent and ends, independence. E at the end, silent. When you're independent, what does that mean? There are a lot of us these days who would claim that we are independent. Are we truly independent? Because to be independent, it means that we are able to stand on our own. It means that we are able to do whatever we have to do for ourselves. So, would you say that you are truly independent? When you're truly independent, it means that you would rule yourself, right? It means that you have that freedom of autonomy where you can rule yourself, okay? Or you are self-governing, okay, which means that there is no one that is taking control over you, that you're able to provide all that you need to provide for yourself. All right. So when a country is independent, it means that they are self-governed. So they do not need like their previous colonizers, or they do not need other bigger countries to really help them out, right? They are able to control their own affairs by themselves. Our next word, we have fast. So we see fast, and then this word is, the C comes before E again in this word. The E at the end is silent. So our word is fast pace, fast pace. This word is like when you did a good job, ACE. The E comes before the sorry, the C comes before E, so it makes a song like S. Fast paced, we add the D sound. So we hear fast paced, fast paced. Now you hear the EV make a song like T. And always remember, when the song at the end, the last song in the word is soft, that's when the ED would make a song like T. So we hear fast paced, fast paced. When something is fast paced, what does it mean? So anything that is fast paced would mean that that thing goes quickly, right? So a word that we can use to mean the same as fast paced would mean that we can say that this thing is moving quickly, or it is developing very quick. And so we call it fast paced. All right. Our next word, we have self, and that speaks about you. When C comes before E, I or Y, we make a song like S. So yes. And remember that same song that I told you a lot of English words end with. So we hear center, center. We add the ed, we hear centered. Remember, we are going to hear the d sound because we can hear at the end of the word. Whenever you can hear the last sound in the word, that's when the ed is going to make the d sound. So self-centered. Anyone that is self-centered or any approach that is self-centered, it would be something that we would often refer to as egoistic, right? And this thing would actually be where it is just about one's self, right? Or one's own affairs, or where one person is preoccupied with whatever it is that is happening. Okay? So this thing, it is in the interest of only yourself or in the interest of the person that is involved. And so you would say that it is self centered. You know, self centered can be a thing that can be very good at times, uh, but at times it can be very bad. I think it has its pros and its cons. And, you know, people often use it to mean something that is negative, but self centeredness is not always a negative thing. All right, because it can be used in positive ways. All right, so keep going, guys. We are going in more ways than we thought. We was stuck for a while, but we're still going. All right, guys, keep. Hey, guys. I would love for you to type in the comment section words, other words that you think I should do, because remember, I told you guys already, I may exempt or skip over words or passwords that you don't know and not do them because I think, hey, you know them. All right. So go ahead and type in the comment section if there's a word that you do not know and you really want me to cover that word. Okay. Remember, we're doing vocabulary, English vocabulary. Also, we're doing reading, decoding skills so that you can learn how to really decode your words, how you can learn to spot other words with the same songs and learn those words too. So let's go ahead. We have k, on, con, and this is a very famous or popular beginning in a lot of English words. Then we have true, ast. So our word is contrast, contrast. And you would see ast as a popular ending for words like in the word fast. It is a popular rhyme in a lot of English words. So it would be good to learn that rhyme. So our word is contrast, contrast, contrast. So the Americans would say contrast. They would finish the word at the S sound. Remember, they do not call the T sound at the end. But however, the British English speakers would say contrast. So you would hear the T sound at the end. Okay? Always look out for it from the British English speakers. So our word here is contrast. What does it mean when we talk about contrast? What does that mean? What does it mean when something is contrast? So, contrast would be something that is different, okay? Something that is different, we would say that it is a contrast. So, anything that has a variation that is, or it would be um, distinct, or it would show some sort of opposition or differentiation or some sort of unlikeness, we would say that it is a contrast. All right. And a lot of times, contrast is made between um, two or more things. So, for example, if you have two things, you might want to see which one is um, darker, of a darker shade. You may want to see which one has more tint and so on. What you're actually doing is that you are looking for the contrast in the items. All right. Our next word, life, because the E at the end silent. In this one, this time we hear the I sound. So life. And we see I sound being used here now. But in live, we saw that the I make the short sound and the E was silent. Remember when the silent E is at the end, the vowel can call its name or the vowel can make the short sound. Don't forget that. And it's good to learn the words where the rule says the short song and where the rule says the long song. That's my encouragement to you. Our next word, th, and the th sung between our teeth, so we hear z and so th, other, other. When you talk about something that is other, then what you are actually saying, right? It is that you have already maybe have something like that thing, right? And there is one more. You would say that there's a other one. When you have extras, you would use the term other. So when you have more, when you have extras or additional ones, you would say other or supplementaries. That's when you use the term other. All right. So it's basically you saying that you have um, more or you have added ones or you have extra as well as what you already have. Okay, good. Our next word, goo, goo. Yeah, the end silent. We hear the O in this one say O. Remember the vowel that comes before would call its name, or sometimes it makes a short sound. So we hear globe, globe. What is a globe? What is a globe? And you may be very familiar with what a globe is, especially if you went to school in your early days. A globe is actually this spherical, round object. So the globe is the sphere shape, or it's a round object that actually looks like a ball. And this round object that looks like a ball, normally you would have a map on it. And the map would actually depict the earth, as in the map of the earth. And that is what you call a globe. All right. And at the end of it, at the bottom of it, not the end, at the bottom of the globe, you would have something that allows it to stay upright and it would allow it to also spin or spin around or to move in a circular motion. All right, guys, you are doing so well. You were able to read through all here, and we got to this point, guys. Give yourself a tap, a tap, tap, tap. If you did all this by reading through and you got to this point, you did an awesome job. All right, now let's keep going. So at this point, we are going to be continuing with the words that might be difficult. At least we have uh, about 5 more words. So let's keep going. So we have x, sorry, x, p, ect. So we hear k, t, expect, and then the ed sound is id. You know, one of the things why I do these words with ed, it's to help those who do not know the ed sounds. because a lot of English speakers, even natives, English speakers, when they're reading, sometimes it's not that they do not know the words; they know the words, but when they have to add the ed sound, they would add the incorrect sound. So our word here is X. X means something that is formal, something that has already passed. Then we have pecked, expect, and we add the id, song, because the word ends with T. Whenever English words ends with T or D, that's when you would use the id sound. Only words that ends with T or D, you would use the id sound. If the word does not end with T or D, do not use the id sound. Okay? So our word is expected. Expected. What does it mean to expect something? What does it mean to expect something? So let's say before the typhoon in Japan, they would have heard a lot of advisories, and these advisories would say to them to expect the weather conditions to change, to expect the typhoon to um, reach land by a certain time, and expect here would be where they're saying that this is likely to happen or they are anticipating this thing. So when you expect something, you are saying that it is likely to happen, right? That you believe that it is going to happen or that this thing is going to come to pass. And so you can use that to say that you anticipate this thing. So another word that we can use for expect is the word anticipate. Here we have already learned the word life, where the I make the sound, the E is silent at the end. And life is actually the existence of um, every being, to have life. The existence of every being is what it means to have life. Or being alive, that's life. We also did the word people, where we said the O is silent, the E makes a long song, so we hear E, and the LE says O. Put it together, we hear P, E, P, and O, people. We did this word also, V, al, the U make the sound U, and the E at the end is silent, value. And we said values like when you have something and you attach a word to it, or you're saying that this thing is deserving, then you would add a value to it. Value could be also a price you can add to that thing. Our next word, we have E. The E makes a song like a long song, E. Then we hear S. So we have is, and then we have P, Ek, T, just like we had in the word expect. So we see that same rhyme, pecked. And you see, guys, that's what I'm telling you. Look here, in respect, you have that same rhyme like expect. So this should make it very easy for you to call that word because you already know the ending part of the word. Okay? So the word is ris, re, and then we have sp, risp, and ect, respect. So the word is respect, respect. So the word is respect. What does it mean to have respect? When you have respect for someone or for something, there are a lot of traits that you would show that you have respect for something or for someone. You would show that you have a deep admiration for them. You would show that um, you, more or less, I should say, have some regard for them. You would show high regard, for that person. And you would show appreciation also for that person. You may show favor for that person too. And you might even praise that person or show some sort of recognition for that person, right? So to respect them would mean that you would have good wishes for them, and also that you would pay attention to the rights of these persons, and so you would be able to consider, you know, um, thoughtfully consider these persons' rights in a way that you would not in any way try to go against their right or to violate their rights. So those are some of the things that you would do when you respect someone. And so to respect them, in a nutshell, we can say that you consider this person worthy or of high regard. So you esteem this person. Esteem is another word that we can use, right? So you treat this person or you think about this person in a way that you honor them. All right. Our next word we have am, then a, short I song, then and the white end makes a song like e. So we hear fam, il, and e. Family, family. What is a family? A family is actually a group of persons who live together, and these persons they work and share together. They are related by blood or otherwise. They can be related through marriage or through adoption and these things. So that's what we call a family. A community. So the word is ku to make the same song. We make the song you for unity. So we make the song you here because this is a word by itself. And we did the word United States. If you remember United States, you remember the pronunciation for you here and and then we hear a. Instead of I hearing the I sound in this word, like you did in United States, you hear the short I sound. So that's something that you have to really be careful about. That's why I keep telling you guys, you have to keep learning English and keep practicing because it's not so easy, right? Because in United, which is this word, we hear the I say I. So in unity, we might want to say or in unite, if we take off the D, we can just say unite. We hear the I say I, but in unity, we might want to say the same I too. But no, in unity, it's making the short song. So we hear A. So we hear it, and the Y at the end make a song like E. So we hear come and we hear unity, community. Always remember that community spells with two M's. It's doubled because this is how a lot of persons spell it incorrectly, and you don't want to be among that batch that would spell it incorrectly. So I want you to practice by recognizing that community spells with two M's. So what is a community? A community is actually a group of people who live together in one particular area, and these persons they would be bonded not just because they live together, but they would have different sorry they would have the same or they would have a particular characteristics set of characteristics in common. So we can call them a group. We can also call a community a body. We may hear other popular English words like gang and so on referred to as in for community, right? So people who live in a special or particular area, um, they are united by their interests um, and by their maybe nationality and their social groups. You would call them a community, okay? So their location is also the same. you would call them a community. And these persons, they have the same interests, they may have these particular characteristics about them that may be the same. For example, they may have the same accent, all right, because they are around each other on a day to day basis. They may have the same accent. More than likely, their accents would be the same when you live in a community. All right, our next word we have crew, E and A. Both letters in this word make a sound. All right, and we hear crew, E and A, and then we hear T. So we do not just look at this and say eat. If we say eat, it would be create, create, but it's not eat. Instead, it's create. We hear both vowels make a sound, and the E at the end is silent. So our word there is create. And what does it mean to create? So when you create something, it simply means that you are the one to come up with that idea. You were the one originally to come up with an idea, or the one to bring something into existence, or to generate something, or to produce something, to make something, or to design something, to build something, or to do something. You'll say that you create it. Our next word and our final word, we have then So we have ha, mm. The O in this one says O, a long song. So we hear ha, mm, O, and N. The Y at the end says E. Let's now put all of it together. So we hear harmony, harmony, harmony. All right. What does it mean to have harmony? For those of you who watch like shows, you would always hear about peace and harmony, as in different things on television and so on would promote that idea of peace and harmony. So when you have harmony, it is basically saying that you have a combination of separate but related parts in a way that they all use their similarities to bring unity. So you have a combination of separate but related parts in a way that they all use their similarities to bring unity, right? And a lot of times you hear about harmony in music, in art, in drawing and painting and these things, right? So that's where you have that combination of separate but related parts. And in a way, they would use their similarities to bring unity, to bring a togetherness, right? So harmony here is really referring to a togetherness, an agreement, right? Something that is orderly, something that sounds well arranged, something that is peaceful. All right, guys. So we have completed all our words that we are thinking that you may not be able to call or pronounce in English. And so now we are going to be reading through those words. Then we are going to read through the whole text. All right. If you have just joined us, please, you can go from the start to get the vocabulary of the words, those that you do not know. And let's go ahead and begin. So today's session was a bit longer than normal, but it's fine, guys. So we are going to say the words now to make sure we remember them. United States. Lisa, Lisa. People, people. Value, value. Personal, personal, personal. Freedom, freedom. independence, independence, world, world. If you're using the American pronunciation, remember you would say world, world, paste. So fast paced, fast paced, self centered, self centered, contrast, contrast, life, life, other, other, side, side, globe, globe, Japan, Japan, expected, expected, people, people, value, value, respect, respect, family, family, community, community, create, create, harmony, harmony. All right, guys, you have all the words there now. And so it's time for us to read through the words. We want you to get active to read through the words. So go ahead, take another look at them, and we are going to read through them now. Guys, are you ready to read? Let's go ahead and let's read through the words if you are ready, because I'm ready. All right, so we're going to be practicing how to read through these words. I know that you guys are ready to read through them, just like I'm ready, right? So let's begin. Let's begin, guys. Okay, so let's begin from the top, guys. All right. So, and guys, I forgot to tell you guys to share the live out. If you still want to do that, you can go ahead and you can share the live with someone who you know might be interested in learning how to read English, and so they can practice. So let's go ahead and let's begin. You can share the live at the end if you want to, because you want to ensure that others can benefit from it. All right. And now we are going to begin to read through the whole text, because at this point we are familiar with all the words. We have studied the words word by word, so you should be so familiar with them that you have no problem reading these words. Let's begin. In the United States, where Lisa is from, the people often value personal freedom and independence, and so Lisa's world was fast paced and self centered in contrast to Z's life on the other side of the globe. In Japan, where the expected way of life of the people are to value respect, family, and community to create harmony. And that's just where we were taking it um, piece by piece. Now we're going to be trying our best to keep up with the whole fluency of the text. Okay? So get active, guys, and get ready to do that. So we're going to be erasing all the clues. That's one thing that we'll do. Erase the clues. Remember, we don't want the clues to be there because we just want you to be able to read fluently through the text. All right? So because we don't want the clues to be there, we're going to erase them all. So you have nothing to guide you. as to how to call the words. And so we are expecting that you'll be able to call the words despite not having anything to guide you on how to pronounce the words. So, guys, do you think you're up for the challenge now that I have erased all the clues, all the songs that we have used to call the words? Do you think you're ready to now take on the job of calling the words without those clues? How do you think it would be for you? Do you think it's going to be challenging? All right, well, I can tell you that with practice, it will not be so challenging. We just practice all the words and we're just going to practice them now to see how much we can remember. I'm sure you're going to do well. So let's go. In the United States, where Lisa is from, the people often value personal freedom and independence. And so, Lisa's world was fast paced and self centered, in contrast to Z's life on the other side of the globe, in Japan, where the expected way of life of the people are to value respect, family, and community to create harmony. Were you able to do that, guys? I think you were. I think you were able to do that. You were, right? And let me know. And let me know how it was for you. Did you experience a lot of difficulty? Let me know. All right, so we're gonna practice one more time. That's what we're gonna do. Um, I don't know. Next time, maybe we can just be reading through like a whole text of words uh without decoding. But it seems as though most persons rather decoding the words and giving the vocabulary. So for now, that's why we are really decoding the words and giving the vocabulary so that you can really learn how to pronounce the words in English. All right. One of the things I should correct here, respect, we hear A, the A sound for the E. So we hear E, sorry, and then we hear sp, act, respect. Okay. So the song there is the E sound, E, spect, respect. But I think that's what we said originally. But to me, it's just sound as though we had said something different from when I was listening over. Hence the reason I'm correcting it. All right, let's read through the text one more time. In the United States, where Lisa is from, the people often value personal freedom and independence. And so, Lisa's world was fast paced and self centered, in contrast to Z's life on the other side of the globe in Japan, where the expected way of life of the people are to value respect, family, and community to create harmony. All right. If you think you are able to do a better job, let's try it one more time. And guys, I have not seen you in the comment section tonight. It would be good seeing you guys in the comment section, okay? So if you can comment, let's hear from you because we can free talk about this topic that we have covered. Guys know I love to free talk about the topics as they would give us an idea of your level of understanding of the topics. And so, if we're able to see how you understand the topics, then we're able to really pitch the content at a level that would support your learning needs. And essentially, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to pitch the uh, we want to be able to pitch the content to suit your needs so that it can help you to learn um, how to read English in a way that you would be very fluent, and not only fluent but sound very close to a native speaker. So let's continue and let's read it one more time to bring it to a close. All right, we're going to read it one more time just to bring it to a close. So let's begin. Always remember to pinpoint the words that we have studied tonight and decoded, as in we have broken these words down, blend them together to create the whole word to show you how to call the words correctly. We have also not only done that, but we have also give you the vocabulary for the words. So we would want you to practice those vocabulary for the words so that you can be on point with your usage in terms of your everyday usage in conversations, in writing, for writing purposes. You can be well up to date with how to use the words. All right, guys. So now we are going to be reading through one more time, and then we're going to we're going to be reading through one more time, guys. Sorry for the background noise. I'm gonna be reading through one more time, and hopefully this would help you guys to be able to really understand the whole text and be able to read it fluently. Let's begin reading English, guys. And this is our practice, and we are trying to practice to master fluency at this point. So let's begin. In the United States, where Lisa is from, the people often value personal freedom and independence. And so, Lisa's world was fast paced and self centered in contrast to Z's life on the other side of the globe in Japan, where the expected way of life of the people are to value, respect, family, and community to create harmony. Do you think you were able to do that well? I have all confidence in you guys that you were able to do it well. And if you did an awesome job. But even if you were not able to call all the words correctly, or you were not able to read through fluently, guys, please give yourself a tap on your shoulder. Yeah, do that for yourself because if you can spot some sort of improvement in your reading or in your vocabulary or even in your grammar, because we did a lot of grammar terms too, or even in your spelling, guys, you have shown some sort of improvement. That is a win, okay? It is a win. So for me, I think it's just for you to just keep practicing and then you would be able to master. All right. So, guys, go ahead and practice on your own and you can listen over if you're late for the session. You can listen over to the vocabulary and all these rules in terms of spelling, grammar, vocabulary in English, and you'll be able to be very effective. So we're going to read it one more time and then we're going to pause there. So we're going to stop there for today and we'll continue at a later date. And we want to thank you for participating. So let's begin one more time. In the United States, where Lisa is from, the people often value personal freedom and independence. And so, Lisa's world was fast paced and self centered in contrast to Z's life on the other side of the globe in Japan, where the expected way of life of the people are to value respect, family, and community to create harmony. All right, guys, if you were able to do that, you did an awesome job. Thank you so much for being here today for our reading session as we practice to read English. And, guys, just keep practicing. You do very well. All right. Hope to see you again very soon. And God bless, guys. Keep practicing. Practice reading English as a second language. Keep practicing, guys, to read English. This would help you to improve. Practice, practice, practice reading English every day. And after a time, guys, you'll be very fluent. You'll be so fluent that you have no need to worry. So keep practice reading English. Until then, see you guys. Just keep practicing your reading in English, your vocabulary, your English grammar. These can help you to improve.